What do you fear? What do you fear now, and how has that changed?
I have always feared this, and I still fear it.
I think that now that we're getting older, the chances of being in pain increase all the time.
Like if I am assessing whether or not I should do something, I'm like, oh, I could fall and smack my head on the ground, and I'm 45 and I've smacked heads before, and that hurts. So I'm going to not do that.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Midlife Crisis podcast, Crisisses, where we talk about all the things going wrong in our lives and how we can think about maybe doing it better next time. So I'm joined with my two friends, Bradley and Tyson, and we're going to have a good show today. Make sure you guys like and subscribe on whatever platform you're listening to. It helps us out a lot. And also let us know what's going on with your midlife crisis right now. We love hearing from you guys, so thank you.
Yeah.
Tyson, what's good?
Oh, man, you are both probably waiting for the ankle update 2024.
Yes,
and we have a couple updates. So I texted you both, but there's been some activity since then. So I wasn't going to do anything. Like, you guys were right. Like, I left our call. I was like, I should do something. And then I was like, then I got to do some research, find somebody, make a thing, talk to somebody. And my wife was just like, I'm just making you appointments. So my wife took the reins, got online, scheduled an appointment at the urgent care closest to our house. And then in the notes was like, needs an x-ray on his ankle. So then I go into the appointment. I'm early, like they said, to fill out all the paperwork, given my insurance, my driver's license, all that stuff. I walk in. I'm like, hey, I'm here. I'm early. Sorry, I'm so early. They're like, that's great. We just need your license and all your insurance info. And I was like, cool. And they're like, and just so you know, we don't have an x-ray technician here. So we would look at your problem. Then if we think it needs an x-ray, we'll send you somewhere else. And then you'll have to come back here to have us tell you. And I was like, my ankle doesn't hurt that bad. I'm sorry. And then I just walked out.
You just straight walked out.
Yeah. I said,
I didn't see that part of the text. That's a surprise to me. Were they like, no, sir, no, please use.
You could hear them laughing as I exited the door.
Because they were like, yeah, that guy's actually right. It sucks over here right now.
Yeah. So I was just like, I was like, that's way too much work for how bad my ankle hurts. I'm going to go. I don't have that kind of time. So I left, and that was it. I was just going to deal with it. And surprisingly, I've been way more mobile, after we talked, that kind of span of time a week ago, started feeling quite a bit better. It's kind of lingering in that, I still feel a lot of soreness and it's still swollen, but I'm not limping. I can walk totally normal. I can walk high speed, all that stuff. So this morning, I'm grabbing a coffee, and this guy walks in, and he's like, were you on Survivor? And I was like, yeah, I was. And he's like, I'm a huge fan. I was like, cool. And he's like, I work at the physical therapy place next door. And I was like, I have a question for you. Since you had a question for me, he's like, what? I was like, sprained my ankle a few weeks ago, taken way longer to heal than I thought it would. I just need to know, should I take action on it, or is it just that we're fine? He's like, let's go on over. So we walk over next door.
I love how your celebrity is influencing this. This is so great. This is so good for Tyson. Keep going. I'm so happy for you.
Thank you. Gives me a free exam of checking out my ankle. He's like, okay, nothing's broken in there. I think based off just feeling it and testing your limits and stuff, you probably have a level 3, maybe a high level 2 sprain. And he's like, I'd give it another week. And if you're not able to be active on it in a week, then maybe it's time to come in and see me regularly, and let's physical therapy that thing into 100% health. He's like, it seems like you probably, he's feeling it. He's like, you strained both ligaments that keep you upright, the one on front of the ankle ball and the one behind it. He's like, I can feel that you've strained both of those. And he's like, and you were probably ultra tight after that surgery, because it was a broken ankle 20 years ago. And it did feel tight after that. So he's like, so they were probably extra tight, which then made them a little more painful, or a lot more painful to sprain. And, but he's like, no Achilles damage. He was testing around for all that stuff and testing all my pressure pushes. He's like, push against this way, push against this way. So long story short, Probably never go see him again. Shout out Jonathan, though, for checking it out and letting me know the good news. Told them at the desk that the human body is a miracle, and I was just going to bank on that. And but that if I didn't see him, the next time I'm at the coffee shop, I will come next door and give him an update on my ankle.
You definitely should, and you should give him a link to our show so he knows he's getting a shout out. If he's already a huge fan, the fact that you're shouting him out, he's going to love it. Shout out to Jonathan. Also, I'd like to point out how coffee heals. If you weren't there getting coffee, you wouldn't know what's going on with your ankle.
That's true.
For the record, if we
true.
got coffee sponsorship potentials out there, Starbucks, Folgers.
They put 4 shots. Yeah. So I got this. This is a Australian themed coffee shop.
Great. Love the Aussies. They do coffee great.
Yeah. And they had this like one with like some coconut in it and stuff. I was like, that sounds good. I was like, I'll have that. And they were like, comes with 4 shots of espresso. Is that cool? I was like, I think so. I got 4 shots of espresso in a large coffee that I drank down not an hour ago.
Oh, perfect.
Do I seem jittery? I feel fine.
You seem solid.
I seem solid, right? Like not overly caffeinated.
I feel fine. I feel fine. Everything's fine on the inside.
I don't even know what you're talking about. I feel great right now.
It seems different.
So anyways, that's the ankle update. And now, Bradley,
thanks,
to you with intro. Quick, you tell us about yourself, how your week was, and then give us that question.
All right. Getting over sickness. I feel like now that I'm old, if I get a cough,
did you go to the doctor? Because remember how you guys were harassing me to go to a doctor last week?
We were harassing you, but it's only in your best interest.
Okay.
We want to make sure you're up and mobile. We can't have Tyson laid out.
I know.
It's not,
top 10 hiker on the Canada trip, dude.
Without you.
Yeah. Can't have you playing pickleball from bed.
Yeah, that's Bedtle ball. Like pickleball in your bed. That could be good.
That could be.
Remember the water bed? Remember that was like a whole...
Yeah. Everybody wanted one. I wanted one.
Yeah, you wanted one. That was the rich folk. You had one?
I didn't. My friend had one when his parents got one and didn't like it, so then he put it in his room.
Oh, sick.
And then it's just like they pop sometimes and just water
it pops, it just ruins your floor and your foundation and just
going to sleep.
So dumb. But I think they kept you cool, right? Didn't they? They probably
I don't know what the benefit was.
Cool while you slept. So
I mean, William, you're the resident water expert.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there any benefit to sleeping on water?
There's a chill factor.
A little bit of a chill factor, which I bet would be so nice. I need that when I sleep.
Yeah, the cold side. Well, yeah, in Arizona for sure. Mm-hmm.
But what else is there? Like, I guess you never get that avocado scoop out concavity because it's all water. It always
just pops instead.
Flat. Just pops instead.
You just wake up in a puddle.
On a hard ground, yeah.
Oh, I think I peed myself last night. Nope.
I peed everyone.
Okay. I remember.
So getting better.
Okay.
Getting better and feeling good. The weather here's been great in Atlanta. And I'm excited to drop this question because this is something that I've thought about for a little bit.
Okay.
And I was checking in a couple weeks ago, and then I think Tyson, it was yours, and then Williams, and I was kind of holding on to this. The question is this: fear. Mm-hmm. What do you fear? What do you fear now, and how has that changed since, in your indestructible 20s? It could be wide ranging. Your fear could be something like, I'm afraid of dogs, or it could be existential, like I don't know what happens after I die, or it could be, I'm afraid my kids are going to hate me, or they're going to turn out punks, or I'm afraid I'm going to lose all my jobs. We're all fairly freelance here, so so I'm just curious. I'm floating that out there because I think those have changed for me as I've gotten older for different reasons, and so I'm curious. Because it can be a motivator. Fear can motivate you just as much as love. So I think that's an interesting...
Just as much as love?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, you look at like old Roman rulers and stuff. People they feared them, and so they did the stuff they were supposed to do. But then eventually the fear runs out, and you have a coup, and you overtake the government, and you overthrow them. But love, I think if you're doing it out of love, it's less likely to... It has a longer tail.
Well, and religion too. Also, like you are, scared of like what punishments may come after life. So
based on fear.
Yeah, based on fear or something like that, I guess. So, yeah. I have always feared this, and I still fear it. Pain. Once I have the pain, I'm fine, but I just dread the initial, like if I'm assessing whether or not I should do something, I'm like, oh, I could fall and smack my head on the ground, and I'm 45 and I've smacked heads before, and that hurts. So I'm going to not do that. Like that, like literally anything I assess that is anything like that, it's like looking at the possible pain factor that could be involved with it. And it's not like sore muscle pain. Like that doesn't bother me. What bothers me is just like crashing hard on my bike, sliding on the asphalt somewhere, doing something dumb, like all of that. And so I'm just like, I've always feared that. Like even as a professional bike racer, it's hard to navigate professional cycling with that fear of pain, possible incoming pain. Like crashing in a pileup is always painful. I have a high pain tolerance once it happens. Like, don't take much medication. If I really get hurt, I'm usually fine. Like after surgery, no big deal, whatever. But just that initial shock of getting smashed has always terrified me.
What about tattoos? You don't have a big back piece, eh?
I don't have a tattoo.
He has
but
no
like
tattoos, right?
I have no tattoos.
He's a no tattooer.
Is that based on the fear of the pain?
No, that pain doesn't. That's just my understanding of that pain is like a discomfort, uncomfortable type scenario. Like I'm more like if you're like, hey, let's do Brazilian jiu-jitsu, and you're looking at it and you see a guy get his ankle snapped just because somebody's being dumb. I'm like, no, I'm not dealing with the possibility of getting my arm snapped behind my back, or like that's the type of thing that I'm always constantly assessing is just like, what is the likelihood of extreme pain for myself in the moment?
I think that now that we're getting older, the chances of being in pain increase all the time. I mean, when you were talking about your ankle, Tyson, I pulled my ass muscle yesterday in Kung Fu. Mm-hmm. We could probably just once a week talk about which one of us have been injured in the last week.
Dude, I haven't been hurt in a real painful way in 7 or 8 years. So this ankle, like that's where and it's the same thing. It's like if I had constantly been hurting myself playing pickleball, I would just stop because it's not worth it to me. But some people don't care about pain. I watch lots of people that don't care about pain
like that.
Yeah.
Oh, see, he's a don't care about painter guy.
Yeah.
Well, I just don't think about it. I don't know.
Well, like I'll watch I'm good on a bike. I've been a good bike handler, but I know my limits. But I'll go out with somebody on a mountain bike who's like first time mountain biking, and they are rallying and eating shit and then getting up and being like, that's crazy. And I was like, I'd be done for the day and then totally go back and reassess all of the things that led to me crashing there and adjust accordingly. So the next time I go out, my limits are in place.
You're such a complex individual, Tyson. There's just so much that goes into your decisions. It's hilarious to me.
Yeah, and like, what about Survivor? Is there a lot of pain when you were on Survivor? Like,
no. I mean, you're living on an island.
The whole thing seems painful. You're like hungry totally. And like getting bit by scorpions or stabbed or whatever.
It's not extreme pain. It's not like you're like getting slammed on the ground or getting crunched somehow or something like that. It's just like discomfort. It's discomfort. It's not pain. And so like you're like it's different.
Afraid of like traumatic injury.
Yes.
More than pain. I don't know.
Yes.
Like being paralyzed, something happening, and like
hitting his head on the ground, like you said, like, ow,
getting my arm snapped, like those are the kinds of things where I'm just like, it hurts so bad, I gotta go get it set by somebody, and you know that then there's going to be more pain as the X-ray technician's like, we got to flop your arm this way and that way, and they're like, it hurts every way, and they're like,
and there's no one here who can read the X-ray, so after we X-ray,
you drive somewhere
else. To go.
Yeah, all of that. So, but then weirdly, when I have the pain already, once it's gone through, there's some masochistic part of me that loves to poke and prod the injured area to feel the pain. Like my ankle, I'm constantly just like pushing on it, and it's like, ow, ow, ow. Yeah, that's pain. Like it's like not pleasurable, but it's like, it's curious to me, and it doesn't bother me, but it's like it's really just the initial trauma of just getting wrecked that I really am afraid of.
Yeah. What about claustrophobia?
I have that. Yeah, I've always had that.
Has that gotten worse?
No.
William?
Oh, you've got fear of heights too, hey, Tyson?
I got a fear of heights, but only if I can't hold on to something. Like you saw me, like I didn't do the Via Ferrata in Canada, but I stood on the edge of the cliff knowing that I'll just fall back into the side that's not cliff. Yeah. Like I definitely had a higher threshold for heights than a lot of people on that trip. And I could have gotten through the Via Ferrata. I just know I wouldn't have enjoyed it. I knew I would have just been like white.
For people who don't know Via Ferrata, it's basically these links, these like chain links on the side of a mountain with a rope that connects them, and you're not free climbing because you're linked in. You use these carabiners and you go from section to section. But it is, even with all that, you look down and you're like, I'm climbing practically what feels like straight up on a narrow edge of a cliff. So it's humbling.
It's like mountain climbing light. It's like mountain climbing with a ladder attached to the mountain. Yeah. It's super fun though.
Yeah. For some people, yeah.
For some people who aren't afraid of heights.
I'd get through it. But like I can go across like a mountain trail that's like right up the edge of a cliff and stuff like that. But I have to have like a solid piece of ground and a plan to exit if I lose my footing or something. Like,
has that always been the way? Like early? Like,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And then the thing, I think the other fear I have is definitely financial. Just like, what if it all collapses? And especially when I was a brand new dad, like that was a constant fear of just like, what if the bottom falls out? How am I going to take care of everybody?
Yeah.
And now, for some reason, I think it's either just self-confidence or being around longer. I'm just like, if the bottom falls out, you just file bankruptcy and send my wife and kids to the shelter for a little bit while I live on the streets because men aren't allowed in there. And then I'll, find my footing again. Like, it's not as scary as I think it used to be when I had babies. And now I'm just like, you know what? People go through that shit all the time. Yeah. And, I hope I don't have to, but if I do, like, you just figure it out one day at a time.
The path reveals itself.
Yes.
I think that things often work out even like during loss like that. Like if like I'm kind of going through that right now. I think you guys might be too a little bit with just work stuff. Like I'm at a pretty scary point because I've kind of built up my business a bit. So now I have a few employees, and with that, I've got a lot higher expenses. So like every blow to revenue is
a feeling of responsibility too,
and
probably
responsibility
to keep those people
with those
paid.
people. Absolutely. And there's it's kind of been a plan where I knew that I was going to kind of go into the red for a while until I come back up. So now it's like this fear of like, if I got rid of everybody and then I just like panicked, like I would be okay. I would make some more money, but then all of the big growth potential that I have would be lost. So right now I'm in this phase where it's like, part of me wants to just bail out and, go back to a smaller size.
Don't listen to this, employees of William Drumm.
Yeah, no shit. I'm not going to. I'm not there yet.
This is just inner monologue, guys. Just
inner monologue. So it's this fear of going broke, but then knowing that if I actually fall into that, if I pay attention to that fear, then my bigger dreams will go away. So kind of like ignoring that fear for the better and just having faith that the path reveals itself. And I think that's so true. Like I had a big client that I still work with, but not as much. And it was a huge financial blow, but also like I needed more time to focus on other things. And once I did that, I've still been going through that panic phase, but there's stuff just falling in my lap now. And I think that that's what happens. Like once you open yourself up to it, then things start to happen. And I'm seeing it. I'm still at the beginning of it. So it's terrifying, but Yeah, I've got a lot of other things I can go into. So I'm going.
What else do you fear? I want to hear them.
This is, I don't know if it's a fear or phobia or what, but like glasses when they're wet in the dishwasher and you touch them and they like make that weird like nails on a chalkboard. Oh, that gives me the willies.
Wait, they make a sound?
Yeah, you know what I
If
mean?
they're
Like a
still
wet
wet?
glass, like, or if your hands
Today
are
was
wet.
the day we found out Tyson's got a high-end dishwasher that dries everything to completion. He's like, well, how could there be a piece of wear in there that's not totally dry? My housekeeper dries everything to excellence, and I've never heard that squeak.
No, I've pulled wet glasses out of the dishwasher, but I've never had one make a sound at me.
Yeah, they do. It's not even the sound. It's like the nails on the it's like the
So
feeling.
is it like
even just
like,
talking? Yeah, exactly.
like as your fingers are going
Yeah.
on it?
It's
Okay.
not like I'm afraid of it.
You
just gives
hate
me
it.
like the ugh.
Yeah, that sounds like definitely like some type of mental blockage.
Yeah, it's not a phobia per se, but
Give me
it's
the willies.
definitely like
It is aphonia, like a
It's-
mesophonia style. Mesophonia. Mesophonia is like when you don't like the sound of people breathing or chewing,
Mm.
and it's to the point where it really bothers you. This
Yeah.
is that, but for that, and I think that maybe just wear gloves and put noise canceling headphones on anytime you empty the dishwasher.
Or just let it dry.
Or just let
That's
it dry.
true, too.
That's what we do. We actually, after it runs its cycle, we open it and pull both racks out and just let them.
You're in
set for
Arizona,
a
so you
while.
just open the front door for 2 minutes and then the
Yeah.
whole house just
Oh my gosh,
Okay,
it's
we're good.
crazy. Yeah,
Blasts.
we don't even have towels.
It's
Just get
nice,
out on
though.
your roof after
Yeah.
your shower.
Yep.
You're like, oof, okay,
It's
dry.
super dry
All
in
good.
Colorado too, and I was thinking about this the other day because I had a bag of chips that were open for like a week and they were still really fresh, and I was like, "Oh, it's great living in Colorado."
It really is. Like you have to finish that family-sized bag of chips if you're in Atlanta. Like
Yeah.
you can't.
Oh yeah, my brother in Florida, you would open it for dinner, and by the end of dinner, the chips looked like pancakes. They were just like this.
Yuck.
It's like, oh my gosh, he lived in Hawaii too. They just got used
Yeah.
to living in a
Moist.
shower, basically.
Yeah.
I've got another fear that's kind of a weird one that I'm kind of coming to grips with and thinking
Okay.
about. It's like I have repeatedly had a habit of kind of doing some self-sabotage to myself when things do start going well for myself. I tend to, make mistakes and make things harder for myself. And I'm wondering if
Subconsciously
that's
or consciously
subconsciously
or what?
Subconsciously for sure.
Okay.
I'm wondering if part of that is like a fear of success almost, where it's like I'm afraid of being more successful because of everything else that it entails, the more responsibility, the harder you, the harder you come, the harder you fall.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's, I think that's definitely part of it is just, it's like, I repeatedly, I've seen this bigger vision for myself and I start working towards it. And then I almost like panic. And I think it has to do with just being like almost like a fear of success in some ways. But now that I'm identifying it, I think it's good. I think it's some progress there.
What's an example of that? Because I think a lot of people have that, but maybe don't even know it.
Yeah. For me, it's like I said, it's like self-sabotage in ways that, all right, so I have this awesome opportunity, not even like an opportunity. It's more like a bigger thing. Like, it's hard to say specific examples other than there's a lot coming at me. And
Okay.
instead of, doing what I've been doing, like staying in the same spot, doing the same work, when all that stuff starts coming at me, I kind of like, I have in the past, like kind of like shrink and kind of ignore some of the stuff instead of like embracing it. It's like the more, I don't know. Yeah.
Almost like you wouldn't respond to an email because you're kind of nervous about it, and it just kind of goes away then.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think Tyson, you spoke to this, and I think William, you could speak to this too. Like as we get older, because we have faced a number of these things, or we know people who have faced these things that seemed so insurmountable or so like that would just wreck my life. And then you see it happen and you're like, wow, they're still going. That's amazing, you know?
Totally.
And I would imagine,
Yeah.
William, that's probably pretty fresh with a divorce. Like you probably never saw, you've said yourself, you never saw that as part of who you were. And I would imagine for myself, if I thought, wow, if I was going through that, I would think, man, that would just be almost insurmountable. Like I just can't even imagine what my life would be like. And yet here you are. So I would imagine, has that killed off that kind of fear? Or is it just more so like now I know how to live with it, you know?
No, I think it's helped kill it off a bit. And yeah, especially this time of year is so hard for a lot of people. Like, you know, I saw something the other day. It's hard because you see other people making memories while all you have is your memories. So it has made me realize for sure, like what you're saying, like even the worst case scenario isn't probably going to be that bad. And thinking about that really helps. And yeah, and with the fear too, it's like I got all these new fears because of the divorce. Like the biggest part of my life, like nothing made me happier than being with my family. And now that's gone. And now like I still want that family. So now I have like a fear of ending up alone, or like a fear of, I mean, in some ways, I don't think it really matters, but my daughter just wants a sibling so bad. I have like a fear of not having any more kids. But it's same thing. It's even worst case scenario. It's going to be okay. The path reveals itself. But yeah, I mean, this time of year has been so hard. It's been a really, really hard time for me. Also, like my brother-in-law passed away earlier this year, and it's been super hard for my sister. So I've been trying to be there for her. And it's so weird. Like the holidays, you never realize how terrible the holidays are for people who are going through shit. Because it's like the best time of year for so many people. But then for other people, it's absolutely the worst, because all you have is those memories from when it was good. And then trying to pretend that it's good or make it good, it's fucking hard. But it's also, like for me, it's a lot better this year. Last year, I was actually like in the process of going through the divorce during the holidays, and it was insurmountable. Like the amount of pain, the amount of just panic was so hard to deal with. And I'm super proud of myself when I think back on this whole year, because like I've never been depressed like this. I've never been like hurt like this, but I've still accomplished a lot this year, and I've still, you know, there's a lot of things happening for me, and it would have been so easy just to fold in. But partly because of my daughter, and partly because I just, you know, like I think things do often work out. Like I'm so proud of myself for pushing through, for making things happen, not becoming a alcoholic or whatever. Yeah. It's been a trip, and it's really awesome that this year is almost fucking over with, because I feel like it has been such a dark, shitty year in so many ways. I'm so excited to like wash my hands of this year and bring
get
like
to
the
2025,
best parts,
baby.
yeah, bring the best parts of this year into next year, and hopefully like
shed some of the
get rid of those, shed those shitty parts of this shit.
Shed the shit.
Yeah. It is that though. Like once you're going through it, like that stuff, like struggling or figuring, like those, once that happens, you're like realize you can do it. I can't do that with extreme physical pain. Like once I go through it, I just want to go through it even less the next time. Like I'm not like
there's no way to really get over
like,
it.
I totally got through that ankle surgery. I'm going to be more extreme now. I'm going to go join Wingsuit Club.
But it is kind of like that. Like with tattoos, the first one is so scary because you're afraid of the pain, and then the next one you like are excited for it, or start to, you know, it is kind of like
you're getting your scrotum tattooed and realizing that you shouldn't, but you're too deep in.
You shouldn't
not
have started
again,
with
boys.
the scrotum
Not
tattoo.
again. I'll tell you
that was the problem. That's why you don't have more tattoos.
Probably it could be. What about you, Bradley? What if you had to list the most horrific scenario for you personally?
Yeah,
give it to us.
So I think I would be so bummed to die and leave my family. In a way that's like more than just like I I think I would worry for them, worry
You'd be
about
dead.
them. I'd be dead, but I mean, I don't mean I would worry like I would experience the worry. I just mean like to think of leaving this crew and like at this moment. I don't know. There's a part of me that like I don't fear death in the big sense. Like on one level, I grew up in the church. I go to church. That's kind of where my head is in terms of like the idea of heaven and this kind of thing. But the idea of what happens, our likelihood for big injury, heart attacks. Like my dad had a stroke. He was just cutting grass. He's in great shape. He runs 3 days a week. He works out. This was 3 or 4, maybe 4 years ago. Just randomly started like throwing up. Took a shower. Didn't feel right. And instead of just being like, I'm a man, I'm gonna sleep it off. He was like, I think I'm gonna go to the doctor. So he went to the ER, and they were like, we're rushing you over to this other place. And I get a call, and it's like, Dad's in the hospital. He's had a stroke, and we're like, what does that mean?
Thanks.
But he's not that much older. I mean, he's 72, and this was a couple years ago, so 60s.
So did he save his own life by going in early?
Yeah,
Well, I went to
yeah.
the
He
doctor,
could have died
huh?
in his sleep.
It's so weird how he went to the doctor and
William looks
they
at me.
saved him.
The same day he
just
hurts
saying.
himself.
Just saying, when you go to the doctor, sometimes that actually works out.
Okay. Yeah.
They did have to send him somewhere else, though. So that's the problem with doctors.
Not a two-stop
No,
medical
two-stopper.
procedure.
They're like, listen, glad you're here, but
Gotta
this
go
is going to
somewhere
need to escalate.
Yeah.
So there's, that type of stuff. And just like, I don't know. I just think I never really worried about or cared about that. But I think, I think for me, when we found out we were going on a citizen trip, for people who are new to the series, all three of us met on a Citizen Watch expedition in Banff. Canada is beautiful. It's fantastic. Shout out Citizen.
And the bugaboos.
Yeah.
Oh, look at that. I'm even wearing my
the
Jasper
Jasper
t-shirt.
shirt.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
Zara
yeah.
gave us.
And I was like, this is going to be great. Saw the itinerary. I was like, we're taking helicopter rides. And I was like, why do I feel a little weird about a helicopter ride? I could die on a helicopter. What if I just drove? Should I just drive? And then I was like, am I overreacting? Am I overthinking this? Like
You're driving to the top of the bugaboos.
Yeah, I didn't know that was a thing. I didn't know the bugaboos. I was like, we're going to take a helicopter ride somewhere. I was like, okay. And I've done that before. I did a thing with Honda where I had to be at a track really quickly for shooting something. I took a helicopter, and there was a part of me that was like, is this necessary? I loved it when I was on there, but I was also like, this would be a crappy way just to be like, hey, honey, see you when I touch down. And the helicopter crash. Yeah, I don't know. I've never worried about that stuff before. I always drive it like you stole it. That's how I lived my life. And then, you start having these things that are depending on you, and in not even just financial ways. Like I feel like I see the benefit of me and my involvement with my kids and their growth and their confidence in a way that my wife brings something to the table. I bring something to the table, but that to me is like something that I would fear. Or do fear. It's not debilitating. It doesn't cross my mind all the time. I drive my car. I do race events, this type of stuff. It's not like that. But I'd never considered it before. When I was younger, didn't care. It was like you had nothing to lose, right?
Yeah.
What about when your
it was
kids were
YOLO.
younger?
What's that?
Is this like the whole time since you've had kids, or is it worse?
You know
now?
what? It's as they've gotten older. I feel like because now I'm in the dad phase of like shaping personalities, creativity, life lessons. I believe our kids are who they are. Our job is to like help facilitate that and like give them the guardrails instead of like, I'm not trying to make another Bradley. I'm not trying to carbon copy me.
Yeah.
Trying to say, what do you have?
Athletes.
What's that?
You want professional athletes.
Oh yeah. I'm not paying for college. Look, if you want a higher education, you got to figure that one out. So yeah,
Okay.
I think that's a good question, William. It wasn't when they were little. My daughter's 11. My son's 4, but he's a little extra. So he kind of like, he's 4, but he plays like an 8-year-old kind of basically.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's one of those fears. I think I used to fear. I remember when I was talking about getting engaged with my wife, and we'd been dating for a while, and it was like, I think I either teared up or broke down. I was like, I'm afraid that I can't provide financially in the same way that I should to get married. That was like a big hump. It was like, I'm still working in a restaurant. I'm every now and then acting gigs, like stuff's coming and going.
I think that's everybody
that was a fear.
All the time, unless you're like a multi-millionaire and getting married super late in life. That's like definitely like
one of those things that you consider, right?
All the
and
time.
It can be a good thing too. I think that, like, I was super afraid of that too. Like, at one point, me and my ex-wife were living at her brother's house, like, you know, not making much cash, obviously, trying to figure stuff out. And that's when I was like, all right, I'm afraid of not being able to really provide and have this family. And then that gave me like the motivation to just like hustle and do it. And, you know, we bought our first house 6 months after that or something. And so that fear can be pretty powerful.
Well, that's the thing too. I was going to say is like, you know, no fear, right? Like the whole like no fear shirts and all that.
They don't sell a lot of those anymore.
They don't do that anymore. Now it's all fear, just fear. Politics, afraid. Finances, afraid. Fear all.
But we should make no fear shirts with the no crossed out.
Just fear.
Yeah.
Midlife crisis, fear.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe the no is under the midlife because that's like, okay, and then get rid of that. Just crisis, just fear, crisis, all the negativity. I think those would do well.
Yeah, I think so too.
It was
I think
super
fear
terrifying
can be good.
when, like, becoming a new dad too. That was probably the scariest shit. Like, thinking about how you do it all, not just financially, but like everything. But then also you look around and you look at all these people who you just know don't have it going on, and you're like, well,
they have
like,
kids.
They're doing it.
If they're doing it, it can't be that bad.
That's
Right.
exactly was my thought. I was like, look at all the people who know less than me, who have less experience than me, who like they're doing it, and it seems like they're doing it just fine.
And that applies to like everything too.
It really does, except for dying.
Yeah.
And leaving your family.
Like,
That's
confidence though, like that's so huge. Like the people who don't have that fear of failure, fear of being embarrassed or whatever. Like, there's photographers who are just so successful who don't have like nearly the technical skills as other ones, but they're just down to like go for it and put it out there. And so, like, yeah, having too much fear of that stuff is problematic, but having a healthy amount of fear
Keeps you alive.
And
I'm going to get a shot
striving.
from inside the mouth of this crocodile.
Yeah. And then
I'm not
sleep
afraid. I'm going to post this to Instagram. Dead. Oh, okay, great.
Millions of followers though. So Bradley, like I also like I do have that fear. Like sometimes I think about like, oh, I can't leave my family early. That would
me
suck
too.
so bad for them. Like I need to be here. I want to be here to see who they become, but I also need to be here for them to have like a real healthy, nurturing, like my wife is there obviously, but I also, part of me is like, why do I not think that they can do it without me? They can do it without me. I think they
would. They'd figure it out.
And they would figure it out. And it's like, that's so for me, I think that is what I've come to terms with. So it's not a nagging fear anymore. It's like, okay, I got life insurance set up.
Yep.
They'll be fine financially
Yep.
if something happens, and then they'll figure it out. And it's very sad. And the best I can do is hope that I've left enough memories that they fondly remember their father and say good things about him. Or if they don't want to and want to blame everything on me, then go ahead. I'm dead. Like
That's fine too.
Yeah.
Pin the tail on the dead guy.
Yeah.
That's fine. That's fine.
I think
that's a good point. I like that perspective. That's good.
I think that for me, the older they get, the more excited I am to see my daughter when she's older. Like, it's so weird to think about who she's going to become. And I do have that same fear of like losing her. I mean, of me
losing
you.
Her losing you.
Her losing me.
Yeah.
Because we're so close now. Me and my daughter are so close, and like we have so much fun together, and I love being there for her, but I don't know. I don't feel like I am afraid of Like, I don't think that comes into my mind in terms of decision making for what I do. Like, I have that back in my head, but it's more like, okay, like, while I'm here, I'm going to make the most of it. I'm going to do all I can for you. I'm not going to let like a fear of something happening to me change what I want to do anyway. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
I
the
hear that.
opposite, having kids has made me braver in a lot of ways too.
Oh,
I'm not a dog guy. Like, it's stray dog on the street, big Rottweiler, just like out and about, escape. Like, I would be the first to like duck and cover if I saw something like that. And now that I got kids, I'm like, I have to step in between whatever's going to happen here. Like, all the time, I have to show them that you can't be afraid of certain situations, even though they're situations that make me uncomfortable. I now have to step in and be like, this is not a problem. And
even though in your head you're like, I am scared shitless right now.
exactly.
Panic.
Exactly. Horrified of getting close to horses, their shifty eyes and their sidestepping stuff. My daughter loves horses. She pets them and stuff. I had her signed up for riding lessons. The instructor was like, Dad's got to help. You got to help saddle them and brush them and do all that stuff. And I was like, I'm going to do the minimum, but I'm still going to do some of it to encourage my daughter's love. And so,
Just
like,
out there like this.
I put the eye mask shade thing on a horse. And granted, I did it in a way where I like wormed the horse around so there was a fence between us, and then pretended like I was going to feed him so that he put his face close to me. And then I got this eye shade thing on him. But like, that's totally not me. I love seeing wild animals. I love seeing animals. I love, like, I'll hold little reptiles and stuff like that. But for some reason, like, aggressive dogs are definitely make me very uncomfortable, and horses in general up close with no barrier make me very uncomfortable.
I think dogs and horses is a great name for our next podcast.
But I could definitely, like, I would have no problem like chasing down a bear, but for some reason, being in a pen with a horse scares the shit out of me.
I would say don't chase down the bear.
Yeah.
We did. I saw a bear on the side of the road in Canada, the first grizzly I saw the whole trip. I had Zara turn the car around, and I got out to take a closer look, and she was horrified that I was going to go running after it. And if I had been like on my own or something, I probably would have figured out a way to get close enough to get a photo. And like, that's like, that stuff for some reason doesn't make me nervous, but like, getting close to a horse does make me nervous because I'm not getting close enough to the bear. Like, I'm always like, okay, there's a tree between us and I'm like 20 feet away or 30 feet away or whatever. Like, I'm like, that does not, I don't know why. Like, I've watched
that bear math does not math.
Yeah,
Let me tell you that. Bear, it's not like a guy. It's not like some, like a tall NBA player or something who's like, well, I was 10 feet away. It wasn't going to touch me.
Well,
it's the bear. The bear's like, I will lunge at you from 30 feet, scrape your face off, no problem.
Yeah, maybe. But like, and that's the thing. Fear can be irrational and rational and stuff like that. But I think so. But what I'm trying to say is, like, I've gotten so much braver in some aspects of, like, even just like my kids are like, "Hey, Dad, can you do this?" And I was like, never really wanted to, but I'll try right now. Let's try it. Like, yeah, okay. Like, my one daughter's got to learn cartwheels perfectly for synchronized swimming. And so I'm just like doing cartwheels and like, I'm like, here's how you do it. And all that stuff is fine. And, but I'm not afraid of cartwheels, for the record, but having kids does force you to step out of that comfort zone into a new zone.
That's true.
And then also realize, like, you know what? If a Rottweiler comes at me, like, probably just like judo chop, Brazilian jiu-jitsu, hold that thing into submission and then make it your pet.
I heard you got to choke them like right in the bottom of
I don't know. I'd probably just be scary and loud, and hopefully that'd be enough. And if it's not, then go on to phase 2.
Yeah.
That's my takeaway.
Yeah.
How to stop a Rottweiler. We've said a lot of great stuff on this episode, but that right there is sticking. That how to take down a Rottweiler. Episode
Yeah.
14.
And we're going to get people that are like, Rottweilers are actually misunderstood creatures, and they're the most gentle beasts of all time.
Yeah.
So
I'm gonna play the statistics and just walk away.
okay.
Sorry.
So do we have anything in closing? Or did we address our fears? Are we over our fears? Are we embracing our fears? What is our plan of action here? Bradley?
I think we're going to embrace fears and also be informed. Those fears will be informed by the past, by looking around, maybe take some of the bite out of the fear, unlike what the Rottweiler would do to you.
Yes.
Yep. I think so too. I think about them, be cognizant of them, and challenge them.
Yeah.
Ooh, challenge your fears. I like that.
And one thing I also like, a couple things I like to look at when I'm afraid of something is billions of people, billions and billions upon billions of people have lived on this planet.
Yeah.
And humans have gone through every imaginable shitty scenario you can imagine. So for me, I always am like, well, there's only one person on the planet right now that can say, that can't say, at least I'm not that guy. There's only one guy out of 8 or 9 billion people that can't say, at least I'm not that guy. There's one guy at the very bottom, and I'm not that guy, and everybody else has been going through some shit. So for me, that like somehow makes it like, that's just like part of life. That's part of the human experience, is dealing with it and learning from it. So yeah, that's my takeaway. That's kind of how I've approached it.
Deep.
I like it.
Is it
well?
deep?
Thank you everybody for listening. I think hopefully you've had a takeaway. We did. And make sure you're following us. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you leave a comment, hopefully a positive one. And if you guys have things that you're going through as well that we should talk about, that we should address, we'd love to do that. Part of why we're here, crisising along with you, so we can all be doing it together. For now, Midlife Crisis out. We'll see you guys next week.
Bye.
Peace.